Bienvenidos estudiantes a la clase de Español 2, capítulo 11, lección 1A. This is Spanish 2, chapter 11, lesson 1A. We're going to start today with our homework check. That's from your workbook, page 183, página 183, actividad 1. And then we will look at the first part of capítulo 11, chapter 11. We'll look over Colossians 4:3. We'll talk a little bit more about Seville, the city that we are studying, Sevilla. We'll look at our prayer vocabulary. We'll look at a couple of nouns and verbs that double, the same word that can double as a noun or a verb depending on how it's used. We'll look at Matthew 6:9 through 13 for our Bible reading if we have time. And then today for our grammar, we're going to look at the subjunctive mood with indirect commands. That'll be a little bit of review because we have covered that before, but we're going to do a lot of practice today because the subjunctive is so important in Spanish. So let's start off with looking at our homework from last night. Now remember, if you didn't get this done, you should not go on in the video. Make sure that you have page 183, activity 1 done before you watch any farther in this video. I'm assuming that you have it done, so let's get going. Vocabulario. Using vocabulary terms, write what you would say in the following situations. Now this goes over our prayer vocabulary that we've been working on. Número uno, begin a prayer. Well, there are many different ways that you could begin a prayer. Those are located in your textbook in página 280. You could have something like Padre Nuestro, our Father, Padre Celestial, Heavenly Father, Padre Amado, Beloved Father, Padre Santo, Holy Father. You could say Señor, Lord, many different ways that you could start a prayer. Número tres, you are burdened for and ask God to save your friend Oscar. You could say, Te pido que salves a mi amigo Oscar. I ask that you might save my friend Oscar. Or you could say, Ayuda a Oscar para que sea salvo pronto. Help Oscar in order that he might be saved soon. Número 5. Thank the Lord for this day. That one's pretty simple. Gracias por este día. Gracias por hoy. Thank you for this day. Thank you for today. Or you could say, Te doy gracias por este día. We give you thanks for this day. Número 7. Thank God for giving you a house and a family. Gracias por darme una casa y una familia. Thank you for giving me a house and a family. And then número 9, ask God to bless the missionaries in Paraguay. Bendice, there's the polite request, the command, the imperative. Bendice a los misioneros en Paraguay. Or you could say, te pido que, we ask that you bendigas a los misioneros en Paraguay. We ask that you bless the missionaries in Paraguay. If you have any questions about that homework, make sure that you get with me and ask those questions so that we can make sure that you understand why you missed what you missed. El versículo for esta lección es Colosenses 4:3, orando también al mismo tiempo por nosotros, para que el Señor nos abra puerta para la palabra, a fin de dar a conocer el misterio de Cristo. Colosenses 4:3. Let's see if we can do some missing word challenge for this particular verse. ¿Qué palabra nos falta aquí, clase? ¿Cuál palabra nos falta? La respuesta es tiempo. Time, tiempo. Número 2. ¿Cuál palabra nos falta aquí? La respuesta es conocer. To know, conocer. Remember that conocer is to know as in people and places or to be familiar with. Número 3. ¿Cuál palabra nos falta aquí? La respuesta es abra, open. That would be the subjunctive mood of the verb abrir, to open, abra. Número 4. ¿Qué nos falta aquí? La respuesta es misterio, mystery, misterio. Y número 5. ¿Cuál palabra nos falta? Mismo, same, mismo. Hope you're studying this verse. You will need to be able to write that when we get to the test for this lesson. Remember as well that you can always write your verse for bonus on any of the quizzes that we take at the end of each individual lesson. We've been talking about the city of Seville. Seville, remember, is at the south. It's the capital of that autonomous community of Andalusia. And we talked a lot about Sevilla, and I hope that you've taken time to watch the video that I put in the playlist here about the beautiful city of Sevilla. If you haven't done that, do that. But also make sure that you are looking over the information about Sevilla in your textbook because you will be responsible for that information that's found there for the test and or the quiz. So make sure you're reviewing that information and watching that video. Clase, ¿cuál es la capital de Cuba? La capital es La Habana. De Panamá, Panamá. De Chile, Santiago. De Uruguay, Montevideo. De Paraguay, Asunción. De Guatemala, Guatemala. De Honduras, Tegucigalpa. De El Salvador, San Salvador. De Costa Rica, San José. Y clase, vamos a estudiar, vamos a repasar el versículo aquí, Mateo 6, 9 a 13. Matthew 6, 9 through 13. Remember, we talked about El Padre Nuestro, or the Lord's Prayer. This is a prayer that you will need to be able to memorize, and you will be saying this to me for a quiz grade. So make sure that you're reviewing this on a regular basis. So you listen as I read this prayer to us, and make sure that you are working on memorizing this. Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga tu reino, hágase tu voluntad como en el cielo, así también en la tierra. El pan nuestro de cada día, dánoslo hoy. Y perdónanos nuestras deudas, como también nosotros perdonamos a nuestros deudores. Y no nos metas en tentación, mas líbranos del mal, porque tuyo es el reino, y el poder, y la gloria, por todos los siglos. Amén. You work through that and make sure that you have that memorized. By the time we get to the end of chapter 11, you will need to be able to say that out loud for me. You will be graded on both memorization and pronunciation. So make sure that you're working on that. Our vocabulary for this lesson has been related to prayer. It's been specific phrases and terminology that you might need to put a prayer together. And that vocabulary is located there for you on página 281. Como orar, how to pray. We had several guidelines, several ways to open prayer. We went over that in our homework check. We talked about expressions of thanksgiving, several of those. Make sure you are able to use this vocabulary in putting a prayer together. There are several ways that we can give prayer requests to God as we are praying. Te pido que, and then your verb in the subjunctive. Te pido que plus your verb in the subjunctive would be one way that you could make a prayer request. You could use the imperative, bendice a los misioneros, bless the missionaries. You could ask for help, ayuda a, and then the person's name, help Maria. Or you could give the command, ayúdame, help me, and that's a polite request. And then the way that we would close the prayer is, todo lo pido en el nombre del Señor Jesucristo. We ask all of this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Just some quick additional vocabulary as we move through this lesson as well. We've talked about a couple of different words that these words could double as nouns or verbs depending on how they are used. These words have to do with times of the day. El amanecer is the dawn. Now, when you put an article before it, as you see here, el amanecer, that is the dawn. But if you just use it as a verb, amanecer, it means to dawn or to start the day. It's the same thing for el atardecer, the afternoon, or anochecer, the evening or the nightfall. If you put that article before the verb, it changes that verb to a noun. If you don't have that article there, then it is a verb. And if you put a person's name, like the example here, Margarita amaneció, that means Margarita started the day. She began the day. She dawned with a headache. So how it's used really determines if it's going to be a noun or a verb in the sentence. Looking at actividad 1, we've already talked about this one a little bit in página 281. Remember that you will be doing number 1 in esta actividad for homework. You will be giving me the prayer that you have written, reading it to me aloud. And again, you will be graded on pronunciation as well as the grammar of the prayer that you have put together. So using the above phrases as a guide, the ones that we just talked about, compose a prayer thanking the Lord for his protection, your home, your parents, and for your school and your teachers, and then ask him to help you in your schoolwork today. Now, don't just run this through Google Translate and get the prayer translated for you. I want to see that you are using the vocabulary terms correctly that we have been reviewing in this lesson. That would be the vocab terms that are found on página 281, right on this activity 1 page. These are the activities, these are the vocab terms that I want to be able to see you using. So make sure you are using those in your prayer and get that turned into me before our next lesson. Our grammar for this lesson is a quick review of el subjuntivo, indirect commands, mandatos indirectos. We went over in chapter 10 that the subjunctive is used after expressions of will, that voluntad, that desire regarding the actions of another. In these cases, the independent clause will have that expression of volition, voluntad, of will. That expression of will is our sign that the dependent clause is going to have its verb conjugated in the subjunctive mood. We will see that verb of desire plus que, and then after that que, we will see the verb conjugated in the subjunctive. Let's look at a few of these examples right here. Quiero que, I want, there's an expression of will. Quiero que lo hagas enseguida. I want you to do it right away. This expression of will has caused this verb to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Look at the second one. Se oponen a que Carlos compre la motocicleta. They are opposed to Carlos buying the motorcycle. This is an expression of will that caused this verb to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. The subject is still Carlos, but the verb was conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Preferimos que, we prefer que usted venga a las 8. We prefer that you come at 8 o'clock. Again, this verb is an expression of will or volition, and it caused this dependent clause verb to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Spanish and English are two different languages, so we don't always use the same rules for English and Spanish. So be careful that you are thinking about these rules in Spanish and not just going by the way you would have grammar principles in English, because it doesn't work the same way and you get yourself in trouble if you're translating. Be very, very careful here. Just some quick conjugation review. The present of the subjunctive. There are some verbs that are irregular. Now, you remember that a lot of these verbs are verbs that in the regular present indicative, the yo form has an OY. That would be dar. The yo form of dar in the regular indicative present tense would be what? Doy. For estar, the regular yo indicative would be estoy. For ir, for ir, the regular yo indicative would be voy. For ser, the regular yo indicative would be soy. So for a lot of these, for 4 of these 6 irregular verbs, the clue that you cannot use the regular yo form to form the subjunctive is the oy of the regular indicative. So for dar, estar, ir, and ser, this should be just a reminder for you all that we can't do those. Now, haber and saber do not have the oy in the yo form. So these are a little bit different. Just remember that haber, the subjunctive conjugation, is haya, hayas, haya, hayamos, hayan. For saber, to know, as in facts and information, sepa, sepas, sepa, sepamos, and sepan. Really, the best thing you can do is commit this irregular chart of conjugations to memory. Other than the reminder that oy will be irregular, you really just need to learn those conjugations. Then you'll get the subjunctive mood right. But keep in mind these exceptions. Let's practice a little bit. Let's look at actividad 2. Actividad 2 está en página 282, 282. Actividad 2, supply the appropriate present subjunctive form of each of the verbs in parentheses. So we are going to do the subjunctive form. Let's look at the modelo together. Tomás quiere que Samuel en la cafetería a las 12. Tomás wants Samuel to be in the cafeteria at 12. Now we know, based on what we just talked about with the subjunctive, that this expression of will is going to require this verb in the second clause to be in the subjunctive mood. Tomás quiere que Samuel esté en la cafetería a las 12. So this expression of volition required this verb to be in the subjunctive because it is showing will or volition over that second verb. I'd like you to do número 1, 3, 5, y 7 en el libro. Do these in a blank spot in your workbook or on some scratch sheet of paper. And then as soon as you have those done, let's go ahead and continue playing the video and you can check your answers. Remember, don't go ahead until you've gotten these done. All right, I hope you got those done. Remember, do not continue playing this video and look at the answers until you have these done in your book for yourselves. Número uno. Jorge quiere que Ramón vaya con él a la iglesia el domingo. Jorge wants Ramón to go with him to church on Sunday. Número 3. El director desea que los miembros del cuarteto sepan de memoria la palabra del himno. The director wants the members of the quartet to know by memory the words of the hymn. Número 5. Los jugadores quieren que Esteban y Pedro estén en el equipo de baloncesto. The players want Esteban and Pedro to be on the basketball team. Número 7. Luis quiere que Felipe le dé la dirección de Rosita. Luis wants Philip to give him Rosita's address. Dar, remember that one was irregular because it's the yo form, doy. And on that irregular chart, we saw that dar has to be de, right here. De. Subject is Felipe, and the conjugation is de. All right? Any questions you have, let me know. Make sure you mark those in red. We want you to know why you missed what you missed. Let's look at Actividad 3. Make complete sentences from the elements provided below, telling where each person wants the other to go. Here's the modelo. Samuel, su hermano, his brother, a la biblioteca. So we are going to say Samuel wants his brother to go to the library. Samuel quiere que su hermano vaya. This expression of volition caused this verb to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Samuel quiere que su hermano vaya a la biblioteca. I'd like you to take a moment and do número 1, 3, 5, y 7. Go ahead and pause the video and get those done, and then we'll take a look at those together. All right, remember, you should not continue in this video until you have Actividad 3 completed, either in a blank spot in your workbook or on some scratch paper. So let's take a look at those answers together that you've completed. Número 1. Maribel quiere que nosotros vayamos a España. Maribel wants us to go to Spain. Número 3. Raquel quiere que yo vaya a Francia durante el verano. Raquel wants me to go to France during the summer. Número 5. Tú quieres que los jóvenes de la iglesia vayan a México. You want the young people of the church to go to Mexico. Número 7. Usted quiere que yo vaya a mi próxima clase. You want me to go to my next class. Right, if you missed any of those, mark those and be sure to ask about them. We want you to know why you missed what you missed. Actividad 4. Actividad 4 está en página 284. Actividad 4, the youth group is praying. Tell the prayer request of each teenager. Modelo. David, this is his prayer request, or his prayer. Su hermano, ser un buen misionero. So David is praying for his brother to be a good missionary. So I would say, David pide que su hermano sea un buen misionero. David asks that his brother would be a good missionary. Okay, so this request that we see right here, David pide que, shows that this is a request and caused this verb to be conjugated in the subjunctive mood. Watch for those clues. Watch for those volition verbs that will help you to know that the dependent clause is going to be in the subjunctive mood. Would you do número 1, 3, y 5? You can do these in your workbook or on a scratch sheet of paper. 1, 3, y 5. Go ahead and pause the video and get those done. All right, remember, you should not be advancing anymore in the video unless you've gotten Actividad 4 done. Let's take a look at your answers and see how you did on these. Número 1. Rafael pide que, and this is an error, this is singular, so it should be pide. Rafael pide que los estudiantes estudien para los exámenes. Rafael asks that, or requests, remember this is a prayer, Rafael asks that the students study for the test. So he requests that they study for the tests. Número 3. Margarita pide que su padre le dé permiso para ir a México en el verano. Margarita asks that her father would give her permission to go to Mexico in the summer. This is the request that she was making, and it shows us the influence over this conjugated verb. That's why we got the subjunctive for de. Número 5. Rolando pide que el presidente sepa gobernar el país. Rolando requests that the president would know how to govern the country. Okay? Mark any questions that you might have on those and let me know if I can help at all. And then the last activity that we'll look at today, Actividad 5. Actividad 5 está en página 284, 284. Use words from each of the following columns to form sentences. Your sentences can be affirmative, they can be negative, they can be interrogative, you can be asking a question, or you can just be making a statement with a declarative sentence. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 in each, 7 in letter E. You have a lot of information in each of these columns here. I would like you to write out 5 sentences, and I would like to see those sentences. So make sure that you are choosing sentences that not only make sense, but that also show me good use of the subjunctive. So these will need to be complex sentences. You will need to have the independent clause using a verb of volition or will that would then cause the dependent clause or the subordinate clause to have a verb in the subjunctive mood. So give me 5 frases, write those 5 sentences out, and I'd like to see those. So get those written out, and we'll take a look at those a little bit later. All right, I hope you got those sentences done. Make sure that those are handy because I may ask to see those. So have those 5 sentences written out. If you want to check on those, a good idea would be run your sentences that you've written in Spanish through a translator and see if they come out saying what you were hoping they would say. So once you've got your sentences written out, run them through a translator, Google Translate or SpanishDict.com, and see how those are working for you, how you did. And that's all I have for you today in esta lección, clase Español 2. This was 11.1a, the first part of Lesson 1, Chapter 11. We did our homework check. We went over Colossians 4:3. We talked about Sevilla. We reviewed our prayer vocabulary. Remember, for our next lesson, you will need to call in and let me hear your Spanish prayer. We talked about noun and verbs for times of the day that double as nouns and verbs. And then we reviewed the subjunctive with indirect commands and did several activities with those. All right? Que Dios les bendiga, clase. Gracias por tu atención. Thank you for your attention. And I hope you do really well on your homework. We'll talk to you again soon.